Well, okay, so that's like a do-over. We realized that there was like a problem going on, but we're not gonna do the whole thing over again. But we're live now. That's on me. I messed up. My bad. I said at the beginning before you guys were here, you happened to land on the world's best toy show of the week on Wednesday. This is Box Chronicles. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, thumbs up, all that stuff. I am your sexy, gorgeous host, Chet Maddox, along with my other sexy, gorgeous host, Alexander Storm. I know you're doing well today, sir. We Absolutely. Have another sexy, gorgeous guest today that is coming on. But really quick, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, doing all right, man. Can't complain. But, before we start, nation to nation, coast to coast, from our toy rooms to your living rooms, this is Box Chronicles, episode 41, and it is a great one. And when I say great, that is not a sleight of hand. It is great. For everyone that keeps saying, hey, man, is there vehicles? Why do I not have 6-inch vehicles? Well, you've asked for it. They are going to give it to you because they're basically cramming it down the throat. If you look in the back, you see the Dragonfly. But I got something a little bit more exciting than that, though. And especially if you're from Southern California, because you damn straight know we love car culture here. We got Kelly from Oddfrog Entertainment, and he's got something that is amazing called the Bandito. If you don't know, we're going to tell you that's the show for you. Let's welcome him in. What is going on, sir? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
That's great to hear, man. Great to hear.
Sorry about my background. We're moving my studio around, and I usually have like comic book posters and stuff, but it's all in a shambles right now. So
nah, man, it's not a problem at all. Not a problem at all, man. Here's one of the key aspects that I always think about is that when we're looking at the stage of how everything is going in the toy industry and how the situation is flowing, there's just this amazing aspect that pops up when you start thinking about vehicles, because let's go like maybe 5 years ago, they weren't really giving us vehicles, and everybody that had a 6-inch line, every collector would say, hey, we want vehicles, we want vehicles, we want vehicles. And all of a sudden now, this is something that I'm starting to see flow. But here's the beautiful part about this is it's usually the top dogs that everybody thinks in the industry is giving you the best vehicles. That's not what's happening. It's the smaller startup companies that are giving us different varieties of stuff. And when I saw the Bandito, and first of all, we saw it doing, we don't mind plugging other people, Nerdzoic. When I saw that, I was like, what is this? And I almost have to instantaneously have this thing.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned you heard it on Nerdzoic.
Yeah.
Matt was the first one to kind of give us our big break distribution wise, which just helped a lot as far as people understanding that we are serious. For anybody following us, people know we've been, with this vehicle for over 1.5 years now, trying to get it out. We tried to Kickstarter early on. We were just kind of naive. We didn't have a big enough following or, anything like that. But it's so in our heart. And we really think we've made an interesting product for toy photography and customization that we just had to kind of keep pushing it. And, we were following that same trend you were talking about where no one's bringing vehicles. We had done some early work, design work for a company, whatever, an entity on Instagram called 112 Garage. Okay. And that guy ended up just kind of disappearing on us after we had designed a car for him. And we were super excited about it. So we were like, okay, well, let's just put all that time and energy and build our own car and give the community what it's looking for. And that's kind of what set us out on the path of the Bandito. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's just one of those things where, as we started thinking just on the aspect of the Bandito, first of all, it's such an interesting name. So it stands out. It has this instantaneous appeal when you hear it at first, because again, I'm into cars. I'm also into toys, and we have multifunctional things. So when I heard the Bandito and I saw it, I was like, okay, all right, I could see a little bit of the low riding kind of like culture into it yet. And if you lived out here in Southern California, you've probably seen that. And I've seen that, and we've talked about what we're not going to get into it because I don't want any lawsuits going. What kind of car it is.
Yep. Oh no, you can totally mention. It's based off a '67 Chevelle.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and
sure
Alex
Chevy wasn't calling up.
Alex and I were talking before, and it's like I'm literally, not even 2 miles from Crenshaw right now.
Yeah.
Where back in the '70s was where everybody would go up and down with their cars, and as we were designing the car, we were kind of listening to the community. We were sharing a lot of images, which we probably won't do next time. Just having learned better, but we got a lot of feedback, and people would say, wouldn't it be cool if you could do this? Wouldn't it be cool if you could do this? And I got to give a shout out to my partner and best friend, Eddie, too, who's, I worked for Mattel for several years, and they want everything to be shiny. It looks good in a box. Moms like it. Moms buy it. But Eddie was the one that really fought for it being the matte black for specifically customizers to be able to pull it out of the box and instantly add your own story to it, paint-wise. And then that kind of led to the idea of developing and making it accessible to accept customizable kits. So that's where the lowrider came in. That was the first modification kit we designed to work with the car. And then since then, we've developed a couple others, like we call it the Gaslands, but it's essentially a Road Warrior style thing. Okay. And, it's only a few parts on the car, wheels, bumper, stuff like that, that's interchangeable, that allow it to become something completely new with relatively easy to produce aftermarket kits. You want the lowrider, you want the Mad Max one. Okay, well, it's a $45 kit to get all those parts or whatever, once we have the tooling, and I should explain real quick, tooling for toy industry is basically, it's the aluminum metal block that they inject the plastic molding into. So any piece on the car that we're building has to have a cavity inside a big aluminum block where they inject the plastic. And that's a lot of where the expense comes in. But it was really important for us as we designed the car and listened to the community that, we couldn't follow everybody's little nuance and what they wanted, but we could build a blank canvas, so to speak, where people would have the option to add on to the car and make the car their own. I hope that answers the question.
No, it absolutely does.
Real quick, I know that we typically go through the comments, but there's a little mess up. So we're streaming live. We're good. It's happy to have everyone here, but I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Typically, our comments come through and we could see them, but we're going to be we'll add it this way for right now, so that way we can see what comments are there when we need to. So real quick, Darth Moocher, welcome in. Deadman 1. Glad you're here. What's up? Cheers to you as well. Eddie Figs. I wonder if we know who Eddie Figs is. Do we know? No. Do we know Eddie Figs? Anybody?
That's not my Eddie.
That's not your Eddie. All right. Well, Eddie Figs, welcome in. You do need to get the Bandito. Yeah, that is for sure. You need to get that. So sorry about that. It'll all be fixed by our Friday podcast, Pixel Plastic Inc. We want to thank everyone for jumping in and being here. So pop your questions up. I'm monitoring it. It's just something that we will not see on here. So with that being said, sorry about that, and we're back. So
yep. Shout out to Deadman 1. He's part of the Oddfrog team now. He's the mind behind our Victims product that we're developing and just
nice.
So yeah,
nice.
Salute, brother.
Yeah. Well, again, not having to chat up, we'll have the chat up. We'll work it. We're constantly going to watch this situation. One thing too, we also got some of our other mods just going to pop on. That's going to actually take a look at the chat too, since we can't see it on the screen right here, but we got you guys. We know you're in there. Thank you for popping in. And again, this is why we go on to have it out early, because it's always a technical issue.
It's the same thing on our show. And especially if my producer's not there, another one of my best friends, if he's not there, it's kind of a you know what kind of show. So
yeah, exactly.
It works like that. All right. So you guys are Oddfrog Entertainment. So let's just get into the point. The foundation of Oddfrog. First of all, the name. Why'd you guys settle on Oddfrog?
So About 20 years ago or more, I was my first experience in art school, and this was in Seattle, Washington. I went to the Art Institute of Seattle for a couple years, and I had taken this cartooning class where we had to design an anthropomorphic character. Okay. So I designed this frog, and everybody loved the frog, and I loved the frog, and it ended up becoming like my Spider-Man or my Ninja Turtles, It was just like everything about pop culture that I loved, I kind of put into this story and into this character. Instead of shooting webs, he shoots his tongue out. Instead of swinging through the city, he hops on the back of cars and traffic, because I live here in LA, and that makes way more sense.
Totally does.
But it was just really for the love of this character that I've had for many, many years. I didn't know if I would ever actually do the comic book when we got into toys. I was like, oh, we're doing toys now. So I was just like, well, I'll name the company after this character that I love. Okay. And now we're actually working on, almost finished with the graphic novel of the Oddfrog. So yeah, the name comes from a character that I created many years ago. That is, you guys are actually I'm hoping to get it out in time for LA Comic-Con next year.
Oh, hot.
So
okay,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great. And now I know you were saying you were working on. It's penciled, it's inked, and everything. You're doing all the artwork for this as well.
Yep. I wrote the story, I penciled it, and I have about 15 more pages out of 64 to ink. So it's taken me over a year to get this far on it. But I was a huge fan of McFarlane, Greg Capullo, those kind of guys. I love all the detail. And so, it just occurred to me at some point that I'm kind of building a watch here, and I need to take my time and do it right. And now, the business is really starting to see a lot of energy. We brought David Vonner, project manager, on board, and just lots of things are happening behind the scenes. So I'm sneaking into the comic book when I get home at night for a couple hours as I can, just because I'm so close to getting it done. But yeah, thanks for asking. It comes from a character that I created and am partial to. So yeah.
All right. So now, along with yourself, who's the other principal members of Oddfrog?
So we have quite a few people on the team now. Not quite a few. We're a small little outfit. Eddie, my business partner and best friend, is the other half of Oddfrog Entertainment. He's kind of the brain behind the chop shop and the vehicles and all that. And then we have a friend of mine. I can't really mention his name, but a friend of mine from Mattel does a lot of copy work for us, like legal copy and writing. He does other contracts, so we kind of keep him under, his name out of the spotlight.
Oh yeah.
We have my other best friends from Seattle, Mike Cantrell, who's a voiceover artist who does our production. And I've known him forever. He's the greatest guy in the world. So not a toy guy, but loves helping us, loves being a part of Oddfrog, and great communicator. And then my uncle, who's just been a huge comic book fan his entire life, huge toy fan, huge pop culture fan. He's kind of a silent investor, I would say, behind the scenes. And then, recently we've brought on Deadman One because he had this idea for toy photography that, there's tons of heroes, there's tons of villains, but there's no victims. And it's may not be
so
important in play, but when it comes to toy photography, there's a whole element of like film and tension and storytelling that was missing without the victims. So, and for me as a company with a vision where I'm trying to bring creatives in and have them own their own intellectual property and essentially myself license that property, it's a great early on experiment to prove whether this kind of thing can be done and to work out bugs as far as like how we do all that. So Deadman is now on the team. And then we also recently brought in Deadly Dioramas. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of his stuff.
Him, yes, on Instagram.
Holy cow, man. The explosions this guy's doing, I haven't seen anything like them. So
they're great.
Yeah, we brought him on our podcast, and he just wanted to see stuff move along a little faster with what he's doing. I think we can help him with that. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. Oh, and Killa Kawaii Design, who does like our printing, and is an up and coming designer herself, is part of it. And she's a previously into designer toys and stuff like that, which we want to get into eventually too. So it was a cool kind of meeting of minds there. But yeah, that's kind of the overall team.
Okay. Well, that's a great overall team, and like I said, we'll check the chats and see if we've got any in there. And again, like I said, we're gonna try. Yep, so been there longer than that. Yep. So we got some guys in there. I'm glad that everybody's enjoying the show tonight. We thank you. We apologize for the technical issues, but again, like Chet said, we'll hammer that out sometime next week.
It wouldn't be a show I could be on if there weren't technical issues.
Wouldn't it? It always comes down from that. Now? I know we talked behind the scenes, and there's certain things about the Bandito and how it started and everything. So let's not get into the messy aspects of it. Let's roll with the positivities.
I'm open to talk about any of it, guys. So okay. Alex, no problem.
Okay. Well, what's been the reaction so far that you have seen? With the Bandito, the exception of it, especially after the Nerdzoics, kind of like video.
Yeah, so the Nerdzoic video, believe it or not, got a lot of flack, and Matt took a lot of heat for the video because there's still a lot of people in the community that think we were the main part of 112 Garage, and we've kind of told this story till we're blue in the face that no, we did contract design work for him. We were never paid for our work. Many thousands of dollars actually out the door doing work for that guy. But I've said this before, this is our dream and we weren't going to stop just because of that. So we just kind of picked up with all the design work we had already done, changed the car and just went forward as our own entity presenting a new car. So that surprised me a little bit because, it's literally 2 years old now. It's like, my one of our early Instagram posts is me explaining to the community that I had to write a letter to the Big Bad Toy Store saying we're not going to help this guy produce his car anymore. I don't know if he has any other plans to do so. I'm just letting you know as a professional courtesy, I'm not doing it anymore. And so that really set us back a lot for sure, especially with our reputation and stuff like that. It was very frustrating, as a company that got ripped off from this guy ourselves, and then also getting kind of the blame for everything that he had kind of taken off with. And, when someone's not there, it's just us defending half of the story. So yeah, that was a major setback. But I would also say on that same token, like we have so many people that have come on board and also been with us from the very beginning. I mean, Axion Figs, Minix, 112 Parallel. There's a lot of guys that have been with us from the beginning, bought a Bandito back in the day and have just kept their order. So in that sense, I've been really, really surprised at just how passionate people are in the company or in the community towards what we're trying to do, so it's been surprising on all levels. But I think
usually you have a point where there's something negative happens, some positive comes out from under it, and it seems like that hasn't stopped you guys from doing what you're doing. So that's the main important part of it,
Yeah, I would say in the long run, it's actually helped us because Eddie and I have been to battle together as a company now, so to speak. We're a little stronger in our friendship and in our company in the fact that we've suffered through kind of some negativity and we're still here and still going. And I think it just makes us able to take a punch a little bit better too. It's like at the end of the day, it bothers you for a while, but then you're like, who cares? Let's keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Now, with the Bandito and the customizable aspect, was this something from the beginning that you were very strong on, that you wanted to make sure there was something for one, obviously toy photography, but two was for the general overall explosion of the customizer market at the moment?
Not really from the beginning, I would say, or at least from the very beginning. From the very beginning, like I said, we were just trying to help that guy design a very specific 112 car. And then when we went on to do our own, we just kept hearing from the community little things like it'd be cool to do this, it'd be cool to do that. And like I said, we couldn't do all those things, but that's when we started thinking of like, let's just create a basic cool muscle car. We'll put the blower on the base model so that you get the cool one right off the bat, and then we'll provide the stock hood afterwards if you want the more classic model or whatever. But that aspect of it, since we weren't going to have all the shiny stuff, it was like, well, let's make it badass. Let's make the profile sit a little higher in the back. Things like that kind of came to us throughout the process. Yeah. And the customization certainly came to us as we were designing the new car for ourselves.
All right. And this one, because again, I think the one thing that we want to let people know is that, look, what other companies do is what other companies do. I know that there's a point where everybody has a similar thing. This is nothing like the Ramen Racers. The Ramen Racers is its own kind of thing. This is completely different. The one I don't think it does not have any sounds though, right? It just has lights, correct?
No, yeah, just lights. It was important for us to focus on the toy photographer aspect of it, which doesn't really involve sound effects. And at the end of the day, it's just an extra expense that I could have put into detail in the dashboard for lighting that up, or putting extra attachments in the electrical switch so that you can add your own lights. Like those kind of little things were more important to us as far as the toy photography aspect that we were trying to focus on.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I like the most about it. Exactly. I think there's a rise in toy photography. That's something that I do on the side. So there's and the fact that it's built with that in mind is great. Like it being like matte and not glossy, not shiny, is you could do so much more with that in photography than you can without it. So I appreciate it, especially because I was going to ask you, like, it does have very defined lines.
Yes.
So it's very defined, which is fantastic because the car in real life would have defined lines. Yep. And so was that something that was intentional for the team?
Totally intentional. In fact, the first model we got, we didn't like that you couldn't see the lines as crisp as they were. And Eddie specifically went back in and made those lines a little more angular so that it would catch the light a little better. But yeah, that was a very specific detail that Eddie wanted in there for sure.
Yeah, it's noticeable, and it's so. I don't want to say it's small because I think it is a big detail, but when it's photographed properly, you can see it, and I think it's something where you might not see it if it's on a shelf, but then you get up close and it's like, oh, this is really good. So that's cool.
Yeah, thank you for noticing. I mean, it is a subtle detail, but I was talking to you guys previously, and I was a huge fan of Todd McFarlane artwork and stuff like that growing up, and he always talks about the planes. Why have a hand like this when you can have a hand like this? So all those little angles, the way they catch the light and stuff for photography, it turns out is an important thing. So yeah, thank you for noticing. That was a detail that Eddie really went back in and made sure stood out.
Good job, Eddie. Good job.
Yep.
With the I noticed that when again the dash does light up. I noticed also the area where the radio is supposed to go in that lights up. Yeah. It's a small details of the speedometer, the tactometer. It's all there, and that's the one aspect that I think when you start looking at the details underneath the hood. You were saying that the battery, the actual battery switches it on and off.
You poke the battery.
Yeah,
battery is a button to activate the the electrical component of the car.
Details within it. That's what blew me away. Was just when I was looking at it from the point, I said, "This looks like a fully functional. I could roll this off the lot." Car.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it sounds maybe silly for us because we're older and we don't necessarily play with the toys, but a lot of what Eddie and I learned in design schools towards toys was that play pattern and having that play in there and that try me kind of element. It's fun for anybody, and if you can make it part of the realism of the experience, then all the better. It's the reason we put the batteries under the hood or under the engine of the car. When you hold it with the batteries in there, it's got a nice quality weight to it, and it feels. I don't know. I've never held a car in my hands, but it has a nice balance to it because
you got to try it. You got to try it one day.
That weight is where the engine would be, so it gives it a nice sense of realism. Yeah.
Well, with the customization, what do you envision with it? Because I've seen a couple of photos, and we've got some photos that we can pull up here. But do you like? Is this one where like even you want to be surprised with what the customizers out there do?
That's exactly right. So it occurred to us after kind of really diving into the customization aspect of the car that it has the potential to every picture you see with the Bandito in it, you're going to see something different. And I can share my screen here in a minute, guys, and show you some concepts of where we want to go with it. But like, yeah, I mean, here, if you don't mind, let me just kind of show you a few of what I got here. Let me find one real quick and I'll bring it up. But I mean, to answer your question, like I want to go really bonkers with it once the main kits are out, and I think like Fortnite, like why not have a big saw blade coming out of the hood or wacky stuff like that?
Mad Max it,
yeah, exactly. Because those would be relatively cheap to produce once the car's out in the market already. So we would really like. It's such a great question because the feature of the car in my mind is the fact that it will be so transformable to everybody that wants to kind of tell their own story or create something like that.
Yeah.
Deadman1 said Oddfrog being relentless is why I hit them up. And then Darth Moocher said a wolf cop option, LOL. And he said, if you know, you know. So
Sure.
I'm looking for a folder right here, guys, where I can show you
take your time. Take your time. We got nothing but this is our dime.
Awesome. Well, and ask me anything too while I look for it.
And again, when we're talking about the add-ons and everything that we're going to definitely see, and I think that this is the first of many that you have planned, right? So the Bandito, and I'm sure that you've thought about the line growing. Is this primarily because I've seen the mission statement that you had, where not just vehicles, but actually action figures that's also based into it. So is it more we're going to see something with the Bandito, like a Bandito driver or something, or
Yeah. So actually, in the second issue of the comic book, will be the owner of the Bandito, here we go. Let me click on here. So here's just one. Let me show. Oh God, that's a bad picture. 1 second. So yeah, the Bandito is going to be featured in the comic book. Here's a better one. And you'll get the owner. Like the comic book is really just, like I was saying earlier, a springboard for us to create new, fresh approaches to character design. I love Batman. I love Spider-Man. I love Captain America, but you can only see so many iterations of that and not want something completely new.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see too. And I know that there's other people out there that would like to see different stories told, different characters. And that's really what it is for me, is to, have a springboard for like creating something new for the community to tell their own stories once again. Let's see here. Let me just do this. Let's work. Share. It might not let me here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not letting me hit the share, but I can send you guys some. I can put it in the chat.
Yeah, throw it up in the chat. That actually might work.
Nope, doesn't look like it's going to let me do that either. Let me try one more time here. Share screen. Share screen. And, here we go.
There we go. Yeah, again,
Okay, so this is the same.
Oh.
This is the same car, but instead of the engine, you have a gun coming out of the hood. Instead of tires, you have blasters on it. And then we also have a system that Eddie and I have developed where you can attach pieces to the side of the car without damaging the paint or the plastic. And this is just kind of an example of how far out we want to go. Like this one makes me think of the Neutrino Kids for TMNT.
Yep.
Exactly.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. And I'd slide over to another one, but I don't know what I have on my screen, and I got to be careful right now with licensing stuff.
Yeah.
But,
1/12th Saint Chop Shop said a variety of kits that's completely changed the aesthetic of the car, like lowrider, off-road, post-apocalyptics, and sci-fi.
Yeah.
So
let me show you one of the. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And if anybody wants to go on our Instagram, we've got all sorts of pictures of the lowrider and the Badlands one, which is kind of like a Road Warrior style.
I've seen those. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got some new people in on the chat. We got Darth Moocher that said, yes, please. Dr. Brentley, welcome. We have Eddie who said,
That's
mini
my
kits,
Eddie. That's my
lowrider.
Eddie.
And finally, your Eddie decided that he wanted to say hello. And so we know which Eddie's which now, which is fantastic. Eddie, welcome in. Excited you're here. So no worries. Everyone needs to work, man. We appreciate you. It's we're just happy to have you and your team on anyway. So no worries on that.
All right. So as we were going through, Kelly, and like I said, where do you think this in the toy industry market, the niche? Because as you're inventing things and you're looking out that's one in the market and everything, where do you see the Bandito fitting in? What's your perfect scenario for it?
Gosh, that's such a great question. So, there's some licensing opportunities that are coming up for us, and I'd love to see things like people have it that may already have some kind of classic figure, want one of the Banditos just in a collector's kind of like a scene where it goes with a figure you already have. But mostly, I mean, to go back on what you were talking about earlier, where we see it going with the whole line is, I really want to continue the story of the Bandito. So like a cop car, you got the outlaw Bandito. There's a natural storytelling element there. If we could do like a Blues Brothers style cop car, and all of a sudden you've got chases going on and you've got that dynamic between the two. We have fully designed, it's ready to go, a Punisher style tactical van with like a computer inside, gun racks. It's got a slide out mini turret from the barn doors on the side of the van. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. But if somebody else is doing a van, it's hard for me to pull the trigger. Yeah. So more power to them. That's what being in the marketplace first is all about. But we may hold off on that just to let the other one get its secure area. And we have, there's so many things you can do with vehicles, even smaller vehicles like bikes and stuff like that. Or even, with my story, it's slightly in the future, by like 20 years or so. Okay. So the tech could be a little more, fantastic and stuff like that. But the chop shop, the 112th Street Chop Shop, we really want to be our vehicle for vehicles. So,
Okay. And in your mind, do you see like maybe there's a play set somewhere, like, the real chop shop that he's at or something, or because again, I'm gonna take it to, I'm trying, when we're getting people into the line, we want some lower end, we want people to know that there might be some high end items showing up at one point.
I mean, honestly, just a little teaser, I guess. We're already working on that, and that's why Deadly Dioramas is so important to the crew and the team we're building. That guy's got some master techniques and stuff like that. So we're already on our way towards that. Absolutely.
All right. Make sure there's a lift for the Bandito there.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. Absolutely.
Having the Bandito up on a lift with your action figure working on underneath would be like, why am I recreating my workday? It's like,
that's what the bottom is fully designed and everything too. There's a lot of details under the chassis of the car and stuff too. But back to that, Chet, real quick. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
With the toy photography aspect, what I love so much about it is when I was a kid, I remember, going to my grandparents' house and having way too many toys to know what to do with. I'd spend 8 hours setting up the story and setting up the toys, and then I'd have 2 hours left before I went to bed. But toy photography for me is so great because that's really just, that's such an accessible element, is the setup. And now with lighting and really thinking of it as an older person with the real art that goes into it, that's what we want to serve.
Yeah. And when you're looking at that and you're seeing that, like, again, from the photography aspects for everything else, the one, let's get into, like, I know that you can go to oddfrogentertainment.com and you can actually plop down your money and start paying for it. The one thing that I think that's a little bit on the easy side of things is the price range, because it's highly acceptable for the price range. Because sometimes you see these items and you think, well, can I afford this and everything?
Yeah.
I was pleasantly shocked at the pricing. Is that
Yeah.
something that you guys took in from the beginning as well?
So this, yes, it was. So this is kind of a funny story, but Eddie and I based the price off the tooling, which is over $100,000 just to get the car into production. We based it off getting it shipped here on containers and actually making sure we could get it to individual units. So the majority of the price of the car is based on those three key factors: the cost of production, getting it to the States, and then shipping it to individual collectors. After that, we added on a little bit just to make sure that all those bases are covered and are able to offer a percentage to distributors. So yeah, we came up with what we thought was a fair price. And we thought at the time it was dramatically expensive. I can't afford it myself. You know what I mean? I'm hoping to at some point, but I had to pay for the prototype, which was much more expensive. So, but it was really important to us to come up with a fair price where, we could continue making this stuff, but we could get it out into the market. And we were blown away because we had been working on our car for about 6 to 8 months design-wise, in the process of having our prototype shipped here from Hong Kong. And the Engine of Vengeance popped out onto the scene one day, and it just kind of floored us. And then when we saw the price tag on that, it kind of immediately terrified me that I missed some giant tariff or something. I'm like, what? Why is that so expensive? But then you kind of remember, like when I worked at Mattel, what you have is a room full of 40 to 60 people. Nobody can make a decision because they're all like, they don't want to be the bad guy that makes the wrong decision, right? Even though you may have all the information in front of your face to why it should be this way or that way, there's a certain amount of frozenness in those bigger companies that don't move as well. And that's all going to go into the price of your car. With our company, it's just Eddie and I with experience building toys, making something we love. And so there wasn't all this overhead to consider when we were putting the price tag on the car. But we wanted to be able to afford it ourselves, essentially. So,
well, I'll tell you, it's probably one of the most affordable vehicles in the market, because when obviously, we're look at the insanity. We're into this and we know it. And as I was looking, and actually, let's break down. It's 185. That's US. And that's also, now here's the thing, that if this doesn't smack you in the face as a collector and it lets you know that the little guys are doing this, there's something wrong up the chain. But it's free shipping in the continental United States.
Yeah. So what allowed us to do that is the fact that we did it a little before we got distribution, but knowing we were going to get distribution, we had a little bit of play in the numbers there that they're going to take care of their own shipping. So that kind of allows me to take a little bit of what we had built in as a buffer zone and just offer free shipping to people. For me, the hardest thing to do is to get your first product into the marketplace. And if you have a good one, it's much easier for that door and that river to flow essentially with your other products. So it was important to us to price it competitively so that we could get into the marketplace, we could get into people's minds and know that we're there. There's virtually no profit built into the Bandito for Oddfrog Entertainment, but that's somewhat by design.
Okay. Well, one of the aspects I think that just floored me after that is like, because you're expecting, especially in the climate today, you do the 185, and then you think there's probably $50 to $75 somewhere else in shipping and everything else, and it normally bumps the issues over. And I know that when I'm looking at my collecting needs, it's always like, all right, it's this price, and then what is going to hit me for the shipping? When I saw that, I'm like, this is probably the premier entry vehicle, because of like, you've got that price out of the way, and it's more palatable. Instead of you saying it's like, oh, it's 185, and then it turns around to 275 by the time I've actually got through the cart and everything else. And of course, obviously, there's taxes involved. This is California, people. There's taxes in it.
Yeah, California is not friendly to tax or business.
Yeah.
But it's a great point because, you know, I just lost my train of thought there. But oh God, where was I going with this? Oh, what I wanted to say was we did not pull any punches from the car to get that price point too. I will say it's 76 pieces of high impact injection molded plastic, clear windows. You know, the 76 pieces thing, you know, I worked at Mattel. At Mattel, when you get a Lightning McQueen, essentially it's 3 parts. You know, you've got your chassis, the inner workings, which is all one piece, and then the top that goes on it with a couple of wheels. And ours is 76 pieces so that you can actually break it apart and put it back together. The dash has the lights. That all comes out and goes back together. We left the screws in it in the production of it because as we were working on the prototype, we're like, this is kind of fun to take it all apart. You know, this is part of working on the car. And instead of having something cheap and snapped together or glued where you don't have access to it, we're like, no. Let's keep all that stuff in it and present it as what it is, which is a, you know, customize, rebuild, repeat. That's our little tagline for it. So
great tagline.
But no quality was pulled from the car.
What you're saying, I can see my Bandito sitting on blocks down the street from the hitch tank of the Dragonfly.
we have pictures of that, actually, thanks to Skyler Walker, who put it up on blocks. That's perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the fun capability with it. I think that, you know, when you look at it, you want something that you're going to enjoy, but it has to stand out from the other stuff you're ordering. And this is its own vehicle. It stands out. And it actually, and to be quite honest with you, with the price range, it's one of those things that jumps out in front of the rest of the competition, because when we're all in a climate where every dollar counts. Yeah. And like this one, it doesn't hurt the initial point of dropping my card down when we were doing it. And I just thought, like, this is just a fun looking vehicle, and the customizable aspects I have seen, especially through your site, so many people taking this to the next level. You know, it's like I could really see the work that's going to be done. It's going to be fantastic, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Like I said, we couldn't let it go because we had put so much design work and thought into how the car was going to work, how people were going to consume it, you know, and make it their own. And it's too good of an idea to let go. And like Deadman said, you know, he was one of the first ones to kind of give us a platform to tell the whole 112 garage story and how that guy bailed on us and all that whole drama. But, you know, then we didn't speak to him for 6 to 8 months or something. And he said he saw us still doing the car, and he's like, what? These guys don't quit. And I mean, that's the thing. For me, this is my life goal, is to build this company and build and be creative how I want to be creative, and just have enough to continue to grow and make what I want to make. So we're you know, Eddie and I are both all in, you know, guys. And, you know, Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. And that's kind of been our motto. So
absolutely. So now other than, go ahead.
Yeah, we got a few more comments. It says from Deadman1, what's up, Eddie? Jace the Wheeled Warrior type shit. Eddie said a niche, though, definitely collectors, customizers, photographers, and car enthusiasts. And Cricket Smiles, welcome in. Good to see you here. And Cricket Smiles, just so you know, he's a huge customizer, part of the SKN family as well. So
perfect.
So he's somebody that we'll eventually want to introduce you to as well. So
awesome.
But he's cool. So
awesome.
Now other than oddfrogentertainment.com, we know Nordzoic. Who are some of the other people that will be having the
Hella Dope Toys? Hella Dope Toys has got the Bandito up for sale, and we're super grateful to them. Nice. That was a big one for Matt. at Nerdzoic. He was like, they're a small new company, but they have a great reputation in the community. So we were super grateful to them for putting our car up there. And, there's other distribution avenues that are coming up that I can't talk about, but that's just the nature of the game. But
we'll have you back on when that happens.
Yeah. Oh, guys, I'll come back on anytime. This is perfect. Yeah.
Back on.
But yeah, super grateful to Matt and Hella Dope Toys for giving us our big kind of breakthrough moment where people are like, oh, they're on distribution now. So
those are the one thing you want to have with your distributors as well as people that will champion the cause. And we know that Nerdzoic did, and the Hella Dope Toys is like any small kind of thing that pops up out of nowhere that's unique. They're always on the forefront too. So I'm glad you've got like really two great companies along with yourself doing it as well. Now we've always got some people that pop in that say what about international shipping? What are we? Is there any plans, or is this right now?
So we are going to be shipping to the UK because we have some orders there already. The only problem with that is we can't afford to ship it there. It's too expensive. But if you want it, we have it set up on the website where in the UK you can purchase it. I had it open to other areas at one point, but I've closed them down because we just didn't get any orders through there. And it's a little bit of a risk going into new deals with distribution and new deals with licensing that if I'm trying to go everywhere all at once and it's only for a few things, it just gets too confusing. And I want to stay focused on, what can actually get done.
Yeah. Yeah. And international becomes very expensive. Yeah. I found that out the hard way when I had to ship my board game overseas. I was like, probably should have done this. But yeah, it gets real expensive.
I was surprised at how much I had to mark up the shipping just to cover an order from the UK. Yeah. But no, Canada, Mexico, we're all there.
So our buddies overseas with the teas and crumpets, you can get yourself a Bandito.
Yep, absolutely. We want you to have one. And buy it from Matt at Nerdzoic, though. I think he has better shipping options.
There you go. We'll put a link in on the description of the show that will let people know where to actually purchase it at and everything.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
When's the first show, I guess, that we can actually see this in hand? What's your plans for, if there's anything for 2024 last remaining shows, or 2025?
Right now we recently got the prototype. We have 3 prototypes. We have the lowrider, we have the base model, and we're working on a third one because we want to start hitting the conventions early next year. But as far as this year goes, Deadman had set up a whole tour for the Bandito. We're about halfway through that. We had to bring it back to be able to get it into Toy Collector Magazine and Toytography Magazine. And just after it ships around to a couple people, you want to fix it up and stuff anyways. But as soon as we've honored some of our commitments that we have, that we brought the car back for, we'd like to just put it right back on the tour where professional photographers and customizers can do their magic with it. The shots we've gotten from it being on tour are much better than anything we could have ever done. Shout out to oh my God, I can't think of anybody right now, but we got product shots from it, from Insightful Imagery. Thank you, Insightful Imagery, for beautiful product shots. First Strike Figs, Skydro Walker. These guys have taken some beautiful shots. Thor 2012. And I'm forgetting one. Shoot. But these guys took some amazing pictures. And as far as I'm concerned, like I was saying earlier, that's the feature of the car, is the photography. We can't let people customize it because it's prototype.
No, obviously, yeah.
But I'd like to put it right back on the tour and get it back in the hands of people that know what they're doing with photography.
Okay. And again,
Redeemer Customs, we're getting it to Redeemer Customs probably next. And so.
All right, so we'll have to wait to see it in hand, but again, we'll have you back on when you.
We have it right now, so we'll probably be. We have some really big news coming out in the next couple weeks, and so we've just been kind of quiet and working behind the scenes to get all this stuff dialed in, and then we're going to be showing a lot more things. Bandito
Okay, and
oriented. So
delivery is in the summer of 2025, correct?
summer of 2025. So go order it now, guys. We're trying to beat the Chinese New Year so that we can get a real solid production. I would just say worst case scenario is we end up having to wait a month for the Chinese New Year. But other than that, we're all on target for the end of summer of 2025.
Great. Now, is the Bandito limited, or is it going to be something that, like, let's say, you know, because obviously it's popping close to Christmas time, and you know the people over at Hasbro didn't think about this, but I know everyone else in the world thought about this. Let's say that, you know, I missed the initial purchasing time or something. Is that something next year that I could order, and I know I'm going to see the Bandito, or just limited?
No. So once we have the tooling, you know, we'll do that initial run and get all the orders covered. But then absolutely, I want to turn around with maybe a slightly different die lot just to show the difference between the first run and get all the collectors their first run. But, you know, basically, yeah, because what happens once we buy the tooling, we own that. And so I don't have to have 1,500 units the next time I go to place an order because the tooling is already made. I could do 200. And then I could get that done much more efficiently once the tooling is complete. So
but there's going to be a slight variation from wave one. So this technically wave one is kind of going to be like, you know, the original thing. And if you didn't buy the Bandito, you're going to get a slight alteration on.
Yeah, it's going to be like volume 2. You know what I mean? The die lot, the cover may be a little different comic book wise. But that's on purpose so that the people that bought the first one really get honored with that collectability. We want to put a pink slip in it that's signed by me and Eddie. Stuff like that really showcases the fact that this is the first of its kind. And we want people that got in on the first run to you know, we want to honor that collectability for sure.
Got it. So if let's just say I lose my pink slip, I'll just go down to DMV and just do it the hard way. You know,
hey, if you're here in California, it's not even that hard. You just, you know, but
no, I like that. I like that little detail with it, a pink slip and everything. So that you don't get to see
that's great.
You know, I loved all that stuff when it came to comics as a kid. You know, all those little details and misprints and all those fun things that go into it. You know, and so we really wanted to have that collectability and that collector aspect up front in the first run for sure.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I feel like I can walk into a 1/12 scale DMV and have somebody treat me like crap behind the counter.
Yep, you're from California.
Yeah. So you just try to find the 1/12 scale like automated machine, so you don't have to deal with them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I love the thing. One thing too is the one aspect that I've been seeing it because I know you guys went in detail and everything. Through the different kits, will you be providing a certain set of amount of kits at the end, or is it going to be something that the customizers will basically be on their own, or what?
No.
How elaborate are you thinking about the customization of this vehicle?
Yeah, really quite elaborate, actually. So for like the lowrider, we want you to be able to get new wheels, new bumper, new rear view mirrors, right? The rear view mirrors on the lowrider are round because it's that classic 60s kind of bling on it, and then a different engine, right? If you're going to have a stock hood, we can't have that blower engine out there. Eddie has designed side skirts for the lowrider. So any kind of detail like that where we can use an interchangeable part or add parts on, we're really going to blow out as much as possible.
All right. And I think there's an extra fee for the fuzzy dice over the mirror, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pink fuzzy dice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The best aspect of this is that what drives you in this process. Is it just like, you know, because there's some people that end up doing this. Obviously, we know you're not in it for the process and everything. Is it when you see fans have it in your hands? Is that going to be the level where you feel like, you know, hey, you know, I've done it. I can sit back on this.
I think so. I don't think I'll ever sit back on anything. Eddie and I are just not that kind of guys. We'll want to dive right into our other plans for it and stuff like that. But yeah, I think as far as the Bandito goes, when I see somebody that's fully customized it, and it doesn't look like anything we envisioned, I'll be like, boom, that's why we did it. Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, just as far as what drives me, So I've been in business for myself since I was probably 23 years old. I've always enjoyed working for myself, but my previous businesses were not in toys at all. But I had always been an illustrator. I love playing music. I'm a creative person, and I needed to kind of take all that business sense and go back to school and do something I loved. And, I went back for illustration. I was going to do storyboard stuff and comic books if I could, but I met Eddie in a sculpting class, and the rest is kind of history. I mean, we both loved toys. We both got drafted into Otis Art College, which is basically a technical art college for product and toy design. And, for me, this is my childhood dream come true, where I get to be in control of my own destiny and design what I want to design. So, like I said, this is, I will never stop doing this. So even if the Bandito doesn't take off, but looks like it's going to at this point.
Taking off.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. It's been a real battle. We've taken slings and arrows that I didn't think we deserved necessarily. But like I said, I think it's made Eddie and I's friendship and business partnership stronger, and the company stronger as a whole, just learning how to take those kind of social media punches and stuff like that, and learn to let them roll off your shoulder a little bit. So
you can survive that. That's the hardest part. Chet, what's the chat saying?
So we have Crooked Collectible said he's really excited to get his hands on one. And then Deadman 1 said, "Good night, y'all. Y'all are killing it." So
night, bro.
Yeah.
Well, like I said again, I know it's not just about us. Actually, we shared this night with our brother channel, the Sort Like Digest podcast, and they're actually getting ready to just about to start. But before we leave, we got to pay some taxes, and the taxes are always done. And everybody has something, but we thank Entertainment Earth for being a sponsor, and we've got a code that we have. That's right.
Dang, guys, that's pretty cool. You got Entertainment Earth as a sponsor?
Yes, sir.
Well,
we
that's every now and then we try to break it out, but they're not the only ones. And like I said, since you're an illustrator, Kelly, you'll appreciate that we all love comics, especially your love for Todd McFarlane and the Great Capullo. Well, you know what? You need some supplies to make sure you keep those comics in the mint condition. And our sponsor, Gemini Supplies, has got a little deal for you.
I would use those if I could actually bring myself to sell a single one of my comics.
Well, since you're getting one prep for the LA Comic Con, you can go down there and purchase it live from you. But if you want it, then you can ship it across country. But use some Gemini, but you get 10%, and 10% is nothing to slip on. That's actually pretty good for you. And again, we share tonight with our buddies, the Fallen Fett Chronicles. It starts tonight at 6 o'clock. Toybox Chronicles at 7, and then after us, the best damn Star Wars show on YouTube, the Sort Like Digest podcast. We've got a weekly rundown for you, so we're going to hit that up. That's right. Now, actually, the boys over there is going to talk about some controversial things tonight on Sort Like Digest podcast. They got 3 new movies that's being written by a very controversial writer, and they're going to have some things to talk about. In fact, they're probably cursing his name out right now. And make sure that you join us on Fridays for everything pop culture and Pixel Plastic Inc. Myself, Chet Maddox, Dr. Brentley, and Rad, and everything. It was 7 o'clock Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week is one of those things we're going to just have a pop culture dump. Want to talk about movies? We heard that Denzel Washington's having a part written for him in Black Panther 3. I didn't think there was going to be another Black Panther after 2, but, we're going to talk about that and everything else that's going on. So join us on Friday. And at one point, we're at Toybox Chronicles. We love you guys. We love when you guys pop in. And believe me, this is not the last time that you're going to see Kelly and Oddfrog. And hopefully next time we can actually schedule it where we get Eddie on and we can just get all the love. As a matter of fact, we'll just bring all the guys on. We'll just have one night where all the guys that you have and everything, we'll just do a major Oddfrog invasion and have everybody just rolling through a chat one night to get it going.
I can speak for myself and the other guys. We are all down for something like that. Absolutely.
Well, one thing too, hey man, thank
awesome.
you for your time. It was actually gracious for you to answer questions. I'll tell people out there right now, if you haven't done it, go over to Oddfrog Entertainment, the entire word.com. Make sure you put your bucks down and order the Bandito. If you picked up anything, like you got your Dragonfly orders that popped in this week, Ecto 1's coming in December. This is going to complement your collection, and it's going to be something that normally don't have in it. You're going to have something that's going to stand out, and that's what you want in your collection. You can put some Marvel Legends in it. You can roll with some G.I. Joe Classifieds. Heck, maybe some Masters of the Universe can sit on the trunk.
They actually fit inside. We've had them in the back seat.
So that's awesome.
There you go.
Awesome.
There you go.
It's
and I saw
better.
a character in the trunk too, so you got a lot of things that you can work with.
Yeah, the trunk space
Kelly,
is actually fairly substantial. But guys, look, the honor is all mine. Thank you so much for having me and letting me represent my company and my friends.
No.
So really appreciate you guys. I would come back anytime. So thank you.
No worries. And before we roll, Chet's got a couple of things to say. And hold on before you go, Kelly. We're going to take you out, and we'll come back for you in a second. And Chet, you've got the night, my friend.
Yeah, so real excited for everyone to stop by. We want to remind you to subscribe, like, follow, turn on the notification bell. Like we said, the technical problems will be fixed, so it'll be back to normal starting on Friday. But we want to thank everybody, including Oddfrog, and more importantly, Oddfrog and Kelly, for giving us some time to be able to talk about this fantastic product, which once again leads into what I love to say, which is don't stop chasing that plastic dragon. However, if you do, it's probably best that you do not tell your spouse. And so, like always, at the end of the show, we always want to give you a secret code that'll give you 100% off of our store. And so